Mick Taylor may not be as well known as Mick Jagger or Keith Richards when you think of the Rolling Stones, but he was the creative spark behind one of the most exciting times in the band's history. Taylor's masterful guitar playing left an indelible mark on the music of the Golden Age, which many people consider to be the artistic peak of the Rolling Stones, in just 5 short years. From 1969 to 1974, what did it take for an artist who was barely in his 20s to join a legendary band and make such an instant and deep impact? So why did Taylor decide to leave the Rolling Stones when they were at their best? Fans and friends were both shocked. Let's look into the life of Mick Taylor, a quiet legend who brought some of the Stones' most famous songs to life, but decided to stay out of the spotlight, leaving a hole that could never be filled. Did he really make the band complete and unbeatable? Or is his story a lesson that the most talented people don't always have the most visible skills? Early years and work. Mick Taylor was born in Welwyn Garden City, Hertfordshire, England, on January 17, 1949. Taylor has loved music, especially the guitar, since he was a child. He grew up in England in the 1950s and 1960s, when blues and rock and roll were becoming big trends and an important part of young people's lives. Taylor didn't just like music, he lived it. When he was a teenager, he learned himself how to play the guitar by listening to recordings of blues royalty like B.A.B. King, Elmore James, and Muddy Waters. He worked hard all the time, which helped him create a unique guitar style that was both deeply emotional and highly impressive. This style became a signature of his later work as an artist. Taylor had his first chance to act on stage when he was 16 years old. He started playing in neighborhood bands and got better by doing a lot of small gigs. The real turning point, though, came in 1966 when he joined John Mayall's Bluesbreakers. This was the band that helped famous musicians like Eric Clapton and Peter Green get their start. As a young guitarist, Taylor found it hard to join the Bluesbreakers. As Clapton and Green left the band, he had to step up and prove himself in a group that was already known for having high standards. Still, it was in this setting that Taylor's ability really grew. His smooth, blues-influenced slide guitar playing made people happy and won him respect from his bandmates. He became known as one of the most talented young guitarists of his time during this time. Good luck with the Stones. A big event in Mick Taylor's life happened in 1969 when Mick Jagger called him and asked him to join the Rolling Stones. The famous band was going through one of its toughest times. Brian Jones, one of the group's founders and lead guitarist, quit because of personal problems and drug use, leaving a big hole that was hard to fill. After only a few weeks, the sad news of Jones' death shocked everyone. Mick Taylor came on the scene during this time of chaos, giving the band new hope and starting a groundbreaking era. At 20 years old, Taylor was the newest member of the band. Despite being young, he quickly impressed everyone with how talented he was. Taylor had a successful career with John Mayall's Bluesbreakers before he joined the Stones. There, he played guitar with guitar greats like Eric Clapton and Peter Green. When John Mayall put Taylor in touch with Mick Jagger, it was the first step on a journey that not many people could have imagined. In just a few weeks after saying yes, Taylor took the stage at Hyde Park on May 7, 1969. It wasn't like any other show. It was a show to remember Brian Jones. Taylor was under a lot of pressure because he was speaking in front of more than 250,000 people. How can he show that he deserves to take on such an important role? Still, Taylor quickly won over the crowd with a great show. His smooth, emotional guitar notes not only helped the band get over their loss, but they also marked the start of a new, exciting chapter. Hyde Park was not only Taylor's first album, but it also showed that the Stones were back and better than ever. Joining the Stones wasn't just a way to take Brian Jones' place. Mick Taylor made a whole new style of guitar. It was Keith Richards' wild, powerful riffs that made him famous, but Taylor added smoothness, melodic sophistication, and deep feeling. Richards said that playing guitar with Mick was like putting together a symphony. When everything came together, it was like magic. As soon as he started working in the studio, Taylor made his mark. Playing on songs like Country Honk and Live With Me, he helped finish the Let It Bleed record. His solo in Honky Tonk Women was one of the most remembered parts of Stone's career. It gave the band a new, emotional sound they had never had before. Taylor worked on some of the Stones' most famous records, like Sticky Fingers, Exile on Main Street, Goat's Head Soup, and It's Only Rock and Roll, during his 5-year tenure. His guitar style not only made the Stones sound better, but it also gave them more room to be creative. Some of Taylor's most famous songs are Can't You Hear Me Knocking, Sway, and Time Waits for No One. These songs show off his emotional solos and technical skill. Taylor was also a big part of making the Stones' live shows better. Before he joined, the band wasn't known for having very big live shows. Taylor's unplanned breaks and electrifying shows helped the Stones become one of the best live bands in the world. Not only did Mick Taylor fill the hole left by Brian Jones, but he also took the Rolling Stones to new heights. The Stones did more than just make music during this time. They also changed who they were, hitting the golden age with unmatched artistic achievements. Taylor was even more than a new member. He sped up the band's growth, making them rock music idols of perfection and innovation. However, he also caused problems within the band and eventually left the group. Even though Mick Taylor was a big part of the Rolling Stones' creative peak from 1969 to 1974, there were issues and pressures going on behind the scenes that eventually forced him to leave the band. Anyone who knew Taylor and the band, especially Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, was shocked when he quit in 1974. For Taylor, though, it had to be that choice. One of the main reasons he left was that he didn't feel fully appreciated. Taylor helped write some Keystone songs, but most of the songs were given to the partnership with Jagger Richards. This made Taylor feel like his work and creativity weren't appreciated. Taylor's unique style could be heard in songs like Sway and Moonlight Mile, but he never got official credit for it. He became angry and began to feel like he didn't really fit in the band because he wasn't being noticed. Additionally, Taylor's feeling of being alone was largely caused by the wild and crazy lifestyle of the Rolling Stones. While other members partied and did drugs, Taylor was more shy and quiet, so she couldn't fit in with this way of life. He later said that seeing some of his friends struggle with addiction made him feel lost and worried about his own health. These personality and living differences made him feel even more alone in the group. He also made the choice because he was tired and had lost motivation. Taylor felt worn out and unhappy after all the non-stop traveling and recording sessions. He thought that the Stones' music was losing the innovative quality that had drawn him to them in the first place. Internal conflicts, stresses at work, and an environment that became more and more toxic made Taylor lose interest in staying with the band. Taylor made a quick choice to leave. Suddenly, he told Mick Jagger in the middle of a meeting that he was leaving the band. Jagger later said that it came as a big surprise to the group. Keith Richards also said that the band didn't fully understand how important Taylor was until he was gone. Taylor did not feel bad or sorry about leaving the Rolling Stones. He once said that joining the band was never something he planned to do for a long time, and when he no longer thought it was a good fit for him, he quit to get his life back in balance. After Taylor left the Rolling Stones, the band's golden age came to an end. However, Taylor could now focus on making music that makes people feel real emotions. Taylor was only in the Stones for 5 years, but what he did there will always be remembered because of how talented he was and how he brought something special to the band. Not being in the Rolling Stones anymore, Mick Taylor started a new part of his work and life after he left the Rolling Stones in 1974. He wanted more artistic freedom and a slower pace. Things weren't easy on this trip, though. When someone left a famous band, they gave up the fame and a stable job to start their own, more difficult journey. Taylor first joined the Jack Bruce Band, which was led by Jack Bruce, who was the lead singer and bassist for Cream. This was a good chance, but Taylor's time with the group didn't last long. He then turned his attention to a solo career and put out his first record, Mick Taylor, in 1979. The album didn't do very well at the box office, but the blues and rock-influenced songs on it showed off Taylor's amazing ability and cemented his place in the music world. Over the next few years, Taylor chose to work with other artists instead of trying to make a name for himself as a single artist. In addition to his own unique guitar style, he played on albums and shows by famous artists like Bob Dylan, Mike Oldfield, and Eric Clapton. Even though Taylor wasn't as famous as he used to be, he was still a unique artist for people who loved how he could make every note tell a deeply moving story. However, Taylor's life after the Stones wasn't always easy. Unlike his old partners, he did not have a lot of money. For a long time, it was hard for him to keep his life stable, especially since the royalties from his time with the Stones weren't as good as he had thought. It was said at one point that Taylor might sue the Stones over these problems, but he denied them, and said that he still got along well with the band members. Taylor even returned with the Stones on rare occasions, like the 50 and Counting tour in February 2013. This showed that he and the band still respected and got along with each other. Everyday life. Mick Taylor has always been a private person who has chosen to stay out of the public eye and away from the media frenzy. Other members of the Rolling Stones were known for living wild lives and having shady relationships, but Taylor was more quiet and calm. Because he was shy, this showed in both his job and the way he made and kept personal ties. Taylor got married to Rose Miller in the 1970s, and they had a daughter named Chloe Taylor. Their marriage did not last long, though, and ended in divorce, which shows how hard it is to work in the music business. Taylor has said that it was hard for him to balance work and family life while he was with the Stones because of the long hours and plentiful temptations. Taylor spent more time with his family, especially his daughter Chloe, after he left the Stones. He always worked hard to be a good father, even though his job required him to travel a lot. Not only did Taylor's friendship with Chloe make him feel better, but it also inspired him to keep making music. Taylor tried to stay away from the glamour of show business, but he had problems in his personal life. Even though he had money problems and health problems at times, his energy never wavered. Taylor picked a life with less stress. He spent more time teaching music and playing on smaller stages, where he could connect with his fans more deeply. Taylor is known for being quiet and polite as well. He didn't talk much about himself or what he did for the Stones during their best years. He preferred for his music to tell the story. Artists who worked with Taylor say he was polite, dedicated, and kept a grounded, unassuming personality even when he was at the top of his game. Taylor has been living a simple life in England for the past few years, getting away from the noise and glitz of the entertainment business. Even though he's not as famous as he used to be, his skill as an artist is still widely known and praised. For his fans, Taylor is not only a music star, but also a picture of loyalty. A man who refused to let the pressures of fame stop him from living his true life. Even though Mick Taylor is quiet about his personal life, it shows a lot about the spirit of a true artist. Instead of seeking praise or attention, he chose to live his life with passion, staying true to who he was, and having his music speak for him. It is his life and legacy. Even though he isn't as famous as he was in his prime, Mick Taylor has kept a special bond with music and his fans. He continued to get people's attention in 2024 by doing interesting things that showed how alive and inspired his artistic spirit was. Taylor's new record, Wild Ride, came out in May 2024. This 13-song record showed off his unique guitar style and deep emotions that have defined his career. Critics and Taylor's devoted fans alike gave the songs high marks. Taylor's fans have always admired his ability to weave each note into a deeply moving story that a documentary called On the Road with Mick Taylor was announced that same year. It would cover his whole life and work. The movie both retraced Taylor's rough musical path and honored his important contributions to the history of rock and blues. Fans got to know Mick Taylor better through it. Taylor was a quiet but very skilled artist who helped make the Rolling Stones' golden age. Taylor has kept playing at smaller music venues and events where he can connect directly with his audience in addition to his music projects. These concerts aren't big stadium shows like they used to be. Instead, they're small venues where he and his friends can share their love of music. Mick Taylor isn't involved in the mainstream music business anymore, but his legacy will always be remembered. Fans and reviewers alike still talk about his time with the Rolling Stones as the band's golden age, a time of great creativity. Not only did albums like Sticky Fingers, Exile on Main Street, and Let It Bleed change the way the Stones played music, they also changed the rules for rock and roll as a whole. Taylor's moving guitar riffs and skilled playing were key in making this difference. Taylor is still a big deal for blues and rock fans even after he left the Stones. Working with singers like Bob Dylan, Eric Clapton, and Jack Bruce shows how influential and talented he was. Even though Taylor never tried to be famous, he has always been praised as a quiet hero. An artist who can use music to express feelings and tell stories through each note and tune. One time, Mick Jagger said that the band didn't fully understand Taylor's part until after he left. This shows how much Taylor contributed, not only to the music, but also to the Rolling Stones' lasting legacy and image that a lot of fans still think that the years when Mick Taylor was in the band were their best, because their music had the best mix of power, emotion, and skill. Mick Taylor is still an important figure in music history, even if his present life isn't as exciting as his past one. Taylor has made a lasting impact on the world through his unwavering commitment to his craft and contributions that will never go out of style. Along with famous albums and shows, he left behind the spirit of a musician who lived for music. He was a quiet legend whose guitar will always be heard in the hearts of people who love his work. Mick Taylor is one of the few artists who made a big impact on music history without having to spend a lot of money or stay famous for a long time. In just 5 years with the Rolling Stones, he helped create the band's golden age, a time of unmatched creativity when the music not only had power, but also emotional depth and sophistication that had never been seen before. Taylor still had the spirit of an artist even after she was no longer in the bright lights of the big stage. He chose to live a simple life and let his music speak for itself. Albums, intimate concerts, and documentary projects that looked back at his amazing journey continued to inspire people. Not only will his amazing guitar solos live on, but so will the artistic value he brought to the world, his honesty, fire, and unwavering dedication to being himself. Feelings about Mick Taylor's journey, an unassuming legend whose immense skill helped shape the Rolling Stones' golden age? Which of his songs or guitar licks did you like the most? Tell us what you think in the space below. Remember to hit like and subscribe if you want to keep watching as we look at more inspiring stories of music legends.